The air in Citadel High was different. Not just the usual blend of stale gym socks and cheap perfume, but something primal. It was a symphony of scents Amma had never encountered, an electric tang of ozone, the sweet, cloying aroma of something akin to decaying flowers, and beneath it all, the sharp, almost painful scent of fear. Amma, new to New Savannah and thrust into this sprawling, unfamiliar high school, felt every single note vibrate in her bones. Her family had relocated quickly, a sudden move across states that left Amma feeling adrift. She was a werewolf, yes, strong and capable within her own pack, but here, she felt like a lone doe dropped into a forest teeming with unknown predators. Her usual quiet confidence had withered, replaced by a constant, low thrum of anxiety. The hallways were a kaleidoscope of unfamiliar faces. Humans, mostly, chatting animatedly, lost in their mundane dramas. But Amma's heightened senses picked out others. The subtle shift in posture, the flash of unervingly still eyes, the almost imperceptible tensing of muscles. They were here, hidden in plain sight. Amma clutched her worn backpack straps, trying to become invisible. Her locker, a rusted relic at the end of a long, dimly lit corridor, seemed to mock her. As she fumbled with the combination, a shadow fell over her. Well, well, what do we have here? The voice was a low, melodic purr, laced with an arrogance that pricked Amma's fur, even though she hadn't shifted. It was Kent. Amma knew Kent's type immediately. He moved with an effortless grace, his dark hair falling just so, framing sharp, striking features. His eyes, though, were what truly held her captive, an unsettling, mesmerizing shade of crimson that seemed to bore into her very soul. He was devastatingly handsome, and he knew it. Every perfectly timed gesture, every slow, deliberate movement, screamed of a self-assured superiority that bordered on cruel. He wasn't alone. Flanking him were a boy with eyes like chipped ice, named Liam, and a girl with unnaturally pale skin and a condescending smile, called Sophia. They were all vampires. Amma could smell the ancient, dry scent of them, a stark contrast to her own vibrant, earthy scent. Kent leaned against the locker next to Amma's, blocking her escape. Lost, little puppy? The human world can be so confusing for your kind. His friends snickered. Amma's cheeks burned. She hated being called a puppy. It was a demeaning term for werewolves from vampires. It stripped her of her inherent power, reducing her to a pet. I'm not lost, Amma managed, her voice barely a whisper. She avoided his gaze, focusing instead on a scuff mark on his pristine designer shoe. Oh, then what are you doing stumbling around our territory? Kent's voice was soft, but it carried an edge. He knew. He could smell her, too. The scent of fresh werewolf, new to his hunting grounds. I transferred, she mumbled, finally getting the locker open and stuffing her bag inside. Liam let out a short, sharp laugh. A transfer? From where? The forest. Sophia stepped closer, her breath unnaturally cool on Amma's neck. You smell wild. Untamed. Perhaps a little too much so for Citadel, wouldn't you say, Kent? Kent's red eyes finally locked onto hers, and Amma felt a jolt, like a tiny electric shock. He was analyzing her, measuring her, his gaze intense and unyielding. Perhaps. But every new toy needs to be tested, doesn't it? Amma's heart pounded, a frantic drum against her ribs. Her instincts screamed at her to lash out, to show them the strength she possessed. But the raw power radiating from Kent, the sheer arrogance in his stance, intimidated her. She'd always been taught caution, especially in unknown territory. She just wanted them to leave her alone. Hey! A sharp, clear voice cut through the tense silence. Amma turned, startled. A girl with a bright cascade of fiery red hair and eyes that sparkled with indignant fire stood a few feet away. Rosemary. Amma had seen her briefly in homeroom, a human girl, seemingly fearless. What's going on here? Rosemary demanded, planting her hands on her hips. Are you guys bullying the new student? Kent turned, his expression a mask of bored amusement. "And who might you be, little human? Are you lost as well?" Rosemary scoffed. "I'm Rosemary, and I'm a student here, just like her. And I think you should leave her alone." Liam and Sophia exchanged glances, clearly amused by the human's audacity. Kent's eyes narrowed slightly, a hint of something beyond boredom entering his gaze. He hadn't expected a human to intervene. "Humans should learn to mind their own business," Sophia drawled, taking a step toward Rosemary. But Rosemary didn't flinch. "And vampires should learn manners. There's a rule against harassment, even if you think you're above it." A muscle in Kent's jaw twitched. For a moment, Alma thought he might lash out. But then he let out a soft, dismissive sigh. "Fine. It seems our new little puppy has found herself a protector. How quaint." He pushed off the locker, a predatory smile curving his lips. "Enjoy your first day, Alma. We'll be seeing you around." He walked away, Liam and Sophia trailing behind him, their laughter echoing down the hall. Alma watched them go, a mix of shame and gratitude washing over her. Rosemary had saved her, a human, from a group of powerful vampires. It was both embarrassing and incredibly kind. "Are you okay?" Rosemary asked, her voice genuinely concerned. Alma nodded, a weak smile forming on her lips. "Thank you. You didn't have to do that." "No one deserves to be bullied," Rosemary said fiercely. "Especially not on their first day. Come on, what's your next class?" "I'll walk with you." As they walked away, Alma couldn't shake the feeling of Kent's red eyes on her. He had called her Alma. He knew her name. And a cold certainty settled in her heart. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The hunt, it seemed, had just begun. "What do you think about Rosemary's courage? Do you believe it was a smart move to stand up to Kent, or did it just put her in more danger? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below." The days that followed settled into a precarious routine for Alma. Citadel High, she quickly learned, was a carefully balanced ecosystem. Humans, oblivious to the hidden currents, went about their lives. Werewolves, mostly from other more established packs in New Savannah, kept to themselves, wary and watchful. And then there were the vampires, who, like Kent and his friends, moved with an almost chilling entitlement, their presence a constant low-level hum of tension. Kent, true to his word, was seeing her around. His torment wasn't physical, not in the way Alma was used to. It was more subtle, more psychological. He'd appear unexpectedly in the halls, his red eyes tracking her every move. He'd whisper barbed comments just loud enough for her to hear in the cafeteria, mocking her quiet nature or her supposed lack of spark. Liam and Sophia were always eager participants, their cruel jests amplifying Kent's mockery. Alma's fur bristled with irritation, her claws itching to extend, but she held back. She was new. She was alone. And she felt an overwhelming sense of isolation. Rosemary, however, became her anchor. The human girl was fiercely loyal, a bright, defiant flame in Alma's otherwise tense existence. She'd sit with Alma at lunch, offer a comforting hand on her arm in the halls, and even bravely snap back at Kent when his taunts became too much. "Just ignore him, Alma," Rosemary would say, her chin jutted out. "He's just a spoiled brat who thinks he's hot stuff." Alma appreciated Rosemary's defiance, but she knew it was more than that. Kent's attention felt like a persistent, cold pressure, a subtle claim on her space. His scent, that unique blend of ozone and decaying flowers, began to invade her thoughts even when he wasn't around. It was unsettling. It was alluring. And it was confusing. One afternoon, during a mandatory school assembly, Alma felt it. A new scent, faint at first, then growing stronger, weaving through the crowded auditorium. It was thick, metallic, and sharp, the scent of fresh blood. Not human blood, but something else. Something ancient and potent, A shiver ran down her spine. No one else seemed to notice. The human students continued to fidget, bored. Even the other werewolves in the rows ahead seemed oblivious. Amma subtly scanned the faces around her. Her gaze snagged on Kent, who was sitting a few rows ahead with Liam and Sophia. His head was tilted slightly, his nostrils flared almost imperceptibly. He smelled it too. His red eyes, usually so confident, held a flicker of something Amma couldn't quite place. Concern? Alarm. The assembly droned on. Amma kept her senses extended, trying to pinpoint the source of the scent. It seemed to be coming from the vents, circulating through the air. By the time the assembly ended, the scent had faded, leaving only a faint metallic aftertaste in the air. As the students poured out of the auditorium, Amma found herself near Kent and his friends. He glanced at her, his usual arrogant mask firmly in place, but his gaze held a question, a silent acknowledgement of the shared, unsettling experience. "What was that?" Amma whispered, unable to stop herself. Kent's expression hardened, and he pushed past her without a word, his friends following close behind. His dismissal was swift and deliberate, a clear message: don't ask questions. Amma felt a flash of frustration. He knew something, but why wouldn't he talk about it? The scent lingered in her memory, a chilling reminder that Citadel High held more secrets than she could possibly imagine. And Kent, for all his arrogance, was clearly a part of those secrets. What do you think the mysterious blood scent means? Is it a warning, a new threat, or something else entirely? Cast your vote for your favorite theory in the comments. Weeks melted into months. Amma settled into a rhythm, finding solace in Rosemary's unwavering friendship and the quiet moments she could steal to run in her wolf form outside school hours, pushing her boundaries, feeling the wildness that was her true nature. The mysterious blood scent never returned, but the incident left a lingering unease. Kent's bullying, however, had shifted. The taunts became less frequent, replaced by something more observational. He would watch her, often from a distance, his crimson eyes intense and unlinking. Sometimes, Amma would catch him looking at her with an expression that wasn't boredom or cruelty, but something akin to fascination. It confused her, irritated her, and, she reluctantly admitted, piqued her curiosity. One chilly afternoon, a group of human students were setting up for the annual fall festival. Amma and Rosemary were helping string lights in the quad. Suddenly, a faulty ladder wobbled, sending a string of heavy lanterns crashing down. Amma reacted on instinct, her werewolf reflexes kicking in. She lunged forward, pushing a smaller human girl out of the way just as the lanterns shattered on the ground where the girl had stood. Amma felt a sharp sting as a shard of glass sliced her forearm. A small crowd gathered, a mixture of shock and concern on their faces. Rosemary rushed to Amma's side. "Amma, are you okay? You're bleeding." Amma looked down. A bright crimson line welled up on her skin, but even as she watched, it began to close, the edges knitting together with unnatural speed. She quickly pulled down her sleeve to cover it. "I'm fine," she murmured, trying to sound nonchalant. "Just a scratch." Just then, Kent appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. His gaze went straight to Amma's covered forearm, then to the shattered glass on the ground. His red eyes, usually so controlled, were wide with a mix of alarm and something else. Admiration. "What happened?" he demanded, his voice sharper than usual. "Faulty ladder," Rosemary explained, still a bit shaky. "Amma saved Natalie. She pushed her out of the way just in time." Kent's gaze lingered on Amma, his expression unreadable. He saw it, Amma realized. He saw her healing. He knew. "You're reckless," he stated, his voice low. Amma met his gaze, defiance sparking in her eyes. Someone had to do something. A strange tension hung in the air between them. It wasn't the usual antagonism. It was something new, something charged. For the first time, Amma felt a shift in the power dynamic. Kent wasn't just a bully. He was seeing her, truly seeing her, for the strength she possessed. Later that week, Alma was walking home from school alone, lost in her thoughts. The streets of New Savannah were quiet, the afternoon sun casting long shadows. Suddenly, a familiar presence flickered at the edge of her awareness. Kent emerged from the shade of a large maple tree, stepping directly into her path. Alma stopped, bracing herself for a taunt. "Alma," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle, devoid of its usual arrogance. She waited, wary. "What do you want, Kent?" He took a step closer, and Alma instinctively tensed, ready to bolt. But he stopped, keeping a respectful distance. I wanted to say thank you." Alma blinked, surprised. "For what?" "For what you did at the festival," he clarified, his eyes meeting hers. "Natalie is Liam's younger sister. You saved her." Alma hesitated. "I just reacted." "Most people don't," Kent countered, his voice earnest. "You risked yourself without hesitation." He paused, a flicker of vulnerability in his red eyes. "And I saw you heal." Alma's breath hitched. So he was confirming it. And it just confirms what I already suspected," Kent said, taking another tentative step closer. "You're not just a werewolf, Alma. You're exceptional." The compliment, coming from him, was disarming. Alma felt a blush creep up her neck. This was a side of Kent she'd never seen. Genuine, sincere. It was unnerving. I don't understand," Alma stammered. Kent ran a hand through his dark hair, a gesture of rare nervousness. "I've been a fool, Alma. A complete idiot. I judged you, I mocked you, I treated you terribly." He met her gaze, his eyes holding an intensity that made her heart pound for an entirely different reason. "And I was wrong. Completely wrong." Alma stared at him, speechless. This was a profound shift. The arrogant, untouchable vampire was apologizing? I need you to know," Kent continued, his voice low, "that I'm truly sorry for how I've behaved. And I hope you can forgive me." A gust of wind rustled the leaves in the trees around them. Alma stood there, caught between disbelief and a strange, hesitant hope. This was a different game now. A more dangerous one, perhaps, because it touched a part of her she'd kept carefully guarded. "What do you think prompted Kent's sudden change of heart? Was it purely about Alma saving Natalie, or is there something more to his apology? Share your theories in the comments." Kent's apology, delivered with such unexpected sincerity, left Alma in a state of bewilderment. The cold, arrogant vampire who had tormented her for months was suddenly humble? It was a jarring contradiction, and it made her wary. But beneath the wariness, a flicker of something else began to ignite, curiosity. He started showing up in places she frequented, but not to bully. Instead, he'd offer a polite nod, a small, hesitant smile. He'd hold doors for her, or even offer a quiet comment on a class they shared. Liam and Sophia, noticeably, were absent from his side. It seemed Kent was pursuing this shift in their dynamic alone. Rosemary, ever protective, was suspicious. "He's up to something, Alma. Don't fall for it. Vampires don't just change their ways overnight." Alma shared her friend's caution, but she couldn't deny the subtle shifts in her own perception. His scent, once a marker of intimidation, now held a strange allure. His crimson eyes, once a symbol of his arrogance, now seemed to hold a desperate longing when he looked at her. One evening, Alma was studying late in the deserted school library. The only sound was the rustle of pages and the soft hum of the fluorescent lights. Suddenly, a book slid off a shelf near her, clattering to the floor. Alma jumped, her wolf senses on high alert. "Careful there," a voice murmured. Kent stood a few feet away, holding the fallen book, a rare book on ancient folklore. "You startled easily. What are you doing here?" Alma asked, trying to steady her racing heart. Just reading, he replied, gesturing vaguely to a pile of books on a nearby table. And you? Studying, she said, picking up her own textbook. A comfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the soft turning of pages. It was unnerving, this quiet companionship with the boy who had once been her tormentor. You know, Kent began, his voice low, there's a full moon this weekend. Amma tensed. He knew. Of course, he knew. Vampires often tracked the lunar cycles. And I was wondering if you'd like to watch it with me, he asked, his voice hesitant, almost vulnerable. From the old observatory hill. The view is incredible. Amma's breath caught. A full moon. With a vampire. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. Her werewolf instincts screamed caution, but a deeper, more primal part of her was drawn to the invitation. It was a step into the unknown, a challenge to the old boundaries. Why? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Kent looked at her, his crimson eyes filled with an intensity that stole her breath. Because I want to. Because I want to get to know you, Amma. The real you. Not the quiet girl I used to tease, but the one who risked herself for a stranger, the one who heals with impossible speed, the one whose scent has haunted my thoughts for months. The honesty in his voice was disarming. Amma felt a warmth spread through her, a warmth that had nothing to do with the library's heating. This wasn't a game to him anymore. This was real. What are your predictions for Amma and Kent's first date under the full moon? Do you think Amma should trust him? Share your thoughts and tell us what you hope happens next. The full moon hung fat and luminous in the night sky, casting the observatory hill in a breathtaking silver glow. Amma felt the familiar pull of her wolf, a joyous anticipation for the shift, but tonight it was tinged with a new, exhilarating nervousness. Kent was waiting for her, his figure silhouetted against the vast expanse of stars. He turned as she approached, and Amma's breath hitched. He wasn't dressed in his usual designer clothes, but in a simple dark sweater and jeans. He looked less like an arrogant prince and more like a boy. A breathtakingly handsome, vulnerable boy. You came, he said, his voice soft, a hint of surprise in it. You asked, Amma replied, a nervous smile playing on her lips. They sat on a worn wooden bench, the vast panorama of New Savannah spread out beneath them. The city lights twinkled like scattered jewels, but above, the moon dominated, a beacon of ancient power. It's beautiful, Amma whispered, feeling the familiar stirrings of transformation within her. It is, Kent agreed, his gaze fixed on her. But you're more beautiful. Amma's cheeks flushed. No one had ever spoken to her like that, especially not Kent. Amma, he began, his voice lower, I know you're wondering why. Why I was such an jacquet. Why I'm suddenly like this. Amma nodded, clutching her knees to her chest. Yes. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I come from a very old, very traditional vampire family. We're taught that our kind is superior, that other supernatural beings, especially werewolves, are lesser, untamed, dangerous. His voice was laced with self-disgust. I believed it. I was raised to believe it. And when you arrived, smelling so strongly of wolf, so vibrant and powerful, it challenged everything I thought I knew. Amma listened, her eyes fixed on his face. So I reacted the only way I knew how, Kent continued, his voice raw. With arrogance. With cruelty. I tried to push you away, to make you feel small, because your presence, it made me feel something I hadn't felt before. Something I couldn't understand. And it terrified me. He looked at her, his crimson eyes full of a desperate honesty. It terrified me how much you intrigued me, how much I hated myself for how I treated you, even as I was doing it. Amma felt a strange melting sensation in her chest. This was profound. This was vulnerability she hadn't dared to imagine from him. Then, when you saved Natalie, he continued, his voice strained, I saw your true nature, your courage, your selflessness, and it shattered every preconception I had. It made me realize how wrong I was, how truly awful I'd been. He took a deep breath. Amma, I don't just want your forgiveness. I want a chance to prove myself worthy of you, to truly know you. Amma felt the rumbling in her chest, the insistent call of her wolf for the shift, but now it was mingled with a different kind of tremor. A tremor of emotion. Her heart, once so guarded, was cracking open. And the blood scent? She asked, suddenly remembering the mysterious incident at the assembly. What was that about? Kent's expression hardened, a flicker of his old self returning. That's a different story, a bigger problem. But it's not one I can tell you easily. Not yet. It involves ancient agreements, powerful forces, and it's why I need you to understand that Citadel High is more than just a school. It's a crossroads, and something dangerous is stirring beneath the surface. He looked at her, his gaze intense. But it's not something I want to face without you. The air around them grew heavy with unspoken promises. The moon climbed higher, and Amma felt the shift drawing near. But for the first time, she wasn't just a lone wolf on the verge of transformation. She was with someone who saw her, truly saw her, and accepted her for all that she was. What do you think about Kent's confession? Do you believe his sincerity, and what do you make of the hints about a bigger problem and ancient agreements? Share your theories on the mysteries of Citadel High. The air crackled with anticipation as Amma felt the inevitable pull of the full moon. Her bones began to stretch, her muscles to lengthen. Her human skin felt tight, a thin veil over the growing power within. She instinctively moved away from Kent, seeking the solitude needed for her transformation. Amma, Kent's voice was gentle, full of understanding. He reached out a hand, hesitating, then let it drop. It's okay. I'll stay here. I won't look. He turned his back, facing the twinkling lights of New Savannah, giving her the privacy she needed. His understanding was a balm to her raw nerves. In moments, Amma was no longer human. She was a magnificent, sleek wolf, her fur a deep, lustrous brown, her eyes glowing with the fierce, wild joy of her true form. She let out a long, joyous howl, a song of freedom and power under the moonlight. When she turned, Kent was still facing away, his shoulders tense. His vampire senses would be overwhelmed by her presence, by the raw power of her shifted form. Kent, she thought, the words forming clearly in her mind, a new, effortless connection that transcended spoken language. It's okay. You can look. He slowly turned, his crimson eyes widening as they landed on her wolf form. There was no fear, no disgust, only a profound awe. He took a hesitant step toward her, then another, until he was standing just a few feet away. Incredible, he whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. You are truly magnificent. Amma felt a deep thrum of satisfaction. This was acceptance, true acceptance. She nudged his hand gently with her muzzle, and he slowly reached out, his fingers brushing her fur. The contact was electric, a spark that ignited a warmth deep within her. It was different from any sensation she'd felt before, a profound resonance between their very beings. It felt like coming home. They spent hours on the hill, not speaking, but existing in a comfortable, intimate silence. Amma ran the perimeter of the hill in her wolf form, feeling the wind in her fur, the power in her limbs, while Kent watched, his eyes following her every movement. When she returned to him, he would reach out, his touch gentle, tracing the contours of her wolf. He had seen her at her most wild, her most primal, and still, he looked at her with reverence. As dawn approached, Amma felt the pull to shift back. This time, there was no shame, no desire for concealment. Kent turned his back again, respecting her privacy, and when she was human once more, dressed in the clothes she'd carried in her backpack, he turned to her, his eyes filled with a soft tenderness. "Amma," he said, taking her hands in his. I think I'm falling in love with you." The words hung in the crisp morning air, fragile and beautiful. Amma's heart leaped. She had fought against the strange pull she felt towards him, battled the prejudices she'd been taught about vampires, but in this moment, looking into his earnest, crimson eyes, she knew. She loved him too. "I think," she whispered, squeezing his hands, "I'm falling in love with you too, Kent." A radiant smile lit up his face, transforming his arrogant features into something breathtakingly joyful. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close, and Amma felt a sense of belonging she'd never known. The world, for all its dangers and hidden threats, suddenly seemed boundless with possibility. From that night on, Amma and Kent were inseparable. Their bond, once a source of conflict, became their greatest strength. They navigated the complex social currents of Citadel Heart together, their united front a silent challenge to anyone who dared to question their unusual pairing. Rosemary, initially wary, soon became their staunchest supporter, fiercely defending their relationship to anyone who whispered. Kent's vampire friends, Liam and Sophia, watched the transformation with a mix of disbelief and disdain. Liam, once so dismissive, seemed genuinely confused by Kent's devotion to a werewolf. Sophia, however, held a colder, more calculating expression, her pale eyes often fixed on Amma with an unreadable intensity. She often exchanged subtle, coded glances with some of the older vampires in the school, the kind Amma had learned to recognize as belonging to the elite within Citadel's hidden vampire hierarchy. Their love story blossomed against the backdrop of Citadel High, a vibrant defiance to the ancient rivalries that still pulsed beneath the surface. They were Kent and Amma, the vampire and the werewolf, a couple as beautiful as they were unexpected, and their love felt like a promise of a new future for their intertwined worlds. What are your thoughts on Amma and Kent as a couple? Do you think their love can truly overcome the ancient prejudices between their kinds, especially with the bigger problem Kent hinted at still looming? Let us know what you feel about their future. Life with Kent was a revelation. He was fiercely protective, yet gave Amma the space to be her powerful self. They spent hours talking, sharing their worlds, their fears, and their dreams. He taught her about the subtle politics of vampire society, the ancient families, the delicate balance of power. Amma, in turn, shared the ways of werewolf packs, the importance of loyalty, the deep connection to the wild. But the bigger problem Kent had hinted at on the observatory hill still hung over them, an unspoken shadow. He remained tight-lipped, only offering vague reassurances that it was being handled by his family. Amma, with her growing instincts and heightened senses, felt the tension in the supernatural community increasing. The scent of fear, and that familiar, unsettling metallic tang of ancient blood, would occasionally waft through the school halls, fainter than before, but undeniable. One afternoon, Amma was in the library, looking up information about New Savannah's local history for a school project. She found an old, dusty book titled Echoes of the Old World, Founding Families of New Savannah. Flipping through it, she stumbled upon a section about the original settlers, some of whom were rumored to have brought ancient practices with them. The book mentioned strange rituals performed during periods of rare lunar and solar alignments, rituals meant to bind and release power. A shiver went down Amma's spine. She glanced at the date of publication, almost a century ago. The pages felt brittle, almost as if they hadn't been touched in decades. As she read further, a name jumped out at her, the Obsidian Circle. The book vaguely described them as a secretive group, obsessed with supernatural power, whose practices were considered dark even by the standards of their time. It mentioned their symbol, a stylized interlocking circle with a single sharp tooth at its center. Amma felt a sudden chill. She'd seen that symbol before, on a ring worn by Sophia. Just then, Kent walked into the library, his eyes scanning the room for her. He looked tired, a faint shadow under his eyes. Amma, there you are. I was looking for you. Amma held up the book, her heart pounding. Kent, what do you know about the Obsidian Circle? His face instantly drained of color, his crimson eyes widening in shock. Where did you hear that name? It's in this book, Amma explained, pointing to the passage. And I think Sophia is connected to them. She wears a ring with their symbol. Kent snatched the book from her, his gaze sweeping over the page. His jaw clenched, and Amma could feel the tension radiating from him. This is more serious than I thought. Amma, we need to talk. Now. Not here. He led her out of the library, his hand gripping hers, his usual confident stride replaced by an urgent, almost desperate pace. They found an empty classroom, and Kent locked the door behind them, his eyes darting around as if expecting to be overheard. Amma, he began, his voice low and strained. The Obsidian Circle, they're not just some old cult. They're a powerful, ancient faction of vampires. They believe in blood purity, in absolute dominance over all other supernatural beings, especially werewolves. He took a deep breath. My family, we're not part of them. But we've been trying to stop them for generations. They've been dormant for a long time, but they've started to stir again. They're seeking a source of immense, uncontrolled power. They believe it will solidify their rule. Amma's mind reeled. What kind of power? A unique kind of dual-natured power, Kent explained, his gaze fixed on hers. One that combines both werewolf and vampire essence. They call it the Citadel Heart. They believe it's destined to manifest in a specific location, under a specific alignment of celestial bodies. He paused, his eyes narrowing slightly. And they believe it will awaken here, in Citadel High. A sudden, sharp knock on the classroom door, making them both jump. Kent quickly pulled Amma behind a large desk, his instincts screaming danger. They held their breath, listening. The doorknob rattled, then footsteps faded away. Kent exhaled slowly. Amma, the blood scent you smelled that day in the assembly, that was them. Testing something. Preparing. They've been subtly manipulating events in the school, trying to find this power source. They think they can control it. He looked at her, his expression grim. They're targeting new, unregistered supernatural beings. Especially powerful ones. Like you. Amma felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. Are they trying to awaken something within me? Kent hesitated, then nodded slowly. I don't know the full extent of their plans, but they've been observing you since you arrived. Your wildness, your strength, your rapid healing. They're seeing patterns. They believe you might be connected to this Citadel Heart they're looking for. Sophia, she's a high-ranking member. She's been sent to monitor you, to push your limits, to see if you are the one. Amma remembered the bullying, the constant taunts. It wasn't just random cruelty, it was a test. A calculated, dangerous game. But you stood up to them, Amma said, grasping his hand. Yes, Kent confirmed, his eyes burning with renewed determination. Because I saw you. And because I won't let them hurt you. Not if I can help it. He tightened his grip on her hand. We have to stop them, Amma, before they unleash something truly catastrophic. Something that could destroy both our worlds. What do you think the Citadel Heart truly is, and how do you think Amma might be connected to it? Is Kent's family genuinely trying to stop the Obsidian Circle, or is there another layer of deception at play? Share your theories about this ancient threat, the revelation about the Obsidian Circle, their dark intentions, and Amma's potential connection to the Citadel Heart hung heavily between them. Citadel High, once just a school, had become a battleground. And Amma, once a quiet new student, was now at the center of a centuries-old supernatural conflict. Kent's family, he explained, had a long history of opposing the Obsidian Circle, subtly thwarting their plans from the shadows. But the Circle was gaining power, their influence spreading, and a major ritual was planned for the upcoming lunar eclipse, a rare event that would amplify supernatural energies to an unprecedented level. They believe the eclipse is the perfect time to awaken the Citadel Heart, Kent explained, his voice grim. They plan to perform the ritual within the school, using its unique ley lines to harness the energy. What would happen if they succeed? Amma asked, a chill running down her spine. Unimaginable power, Kent replied. Enough to make the Obsidian Circle unstoppable. Enough to truly enslave other supernatural beings. Enough to throw the entire balance of our world into chaos. Their days at Citadel High became a delicate dance between normalcy and hidden urgency. They moved with a newfound purpose, always observing, always planning. Rosemary, though still unaware of the full supernatural truth, noticed Amma's increased seriousness, her constant hushed conversations with Kent. She was worried, but Amma couldn't risk telling her everything. Not yet. Sophia, now revealed as a key player in the Obsidian Circle, continued her surveillance, her pale eyes often following Amma with an unnerving intensity. Liam, however, seemed increasingly conflicted. He still accompanied Sophia, but Amma noticed his glances at Kent were filled with a strange blend of loyalty and concern, almost as if he was beginning to question Sophia's methods. One evening, after school, Amma and Kent were in the deserted library once more, poring over ancient texts Kent had managed to procure from his family's hidden library. They were searching for a way to stop the Obsidian Circle, a weakness, a counter-ritual. "This doesn't make sense," Amma murmured, tracing a complex diagram. "If the Citadel Heart is supposed to be a source of dual-natured power, why are they only targeting werewolves? What about vampires who might also possess this unique essence?" Kent paused, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "That's a good point. The texts always speak of it manifesting in a hybrid, a being that embodies both sides. But the Obsidian Circle believes in vampiric supremacy. They might be trying to force it, to control its manifestation to only serve their purposes." He looked at her, his gaze deepening. "Amma, what if you're not just connected to it? What if you are the Citadel Heart?" Amma's breath hitched. "Me? But I'm a werewolf." "You have a unique wildness, Amma," Kent said, his voice earnest. "A raw power that even veteran werewolves can't match. And the way you adapted to your wolf, the speed of your healing, it's all beyond what's considered normal. What if the blood scent you perceived was them, trying to provoke a reaction, to see if their ritual was affecting you? What if they were testing you?" The idea was terrifying. If she was the Citadel Heart, then she wasn't just a target, she was the prize. They both froze. Kent's head snapped towards the library window. His vampire senses, usually so keen, seemed to stretch, searching. Amma's wolf instincts screamed danger. "Someone's here," Amma whispered, her voice tight. "Outside." Kent's hand went to hers, his grip firm. "Stay low. It could be Liam or Sophia. Or worse." A faint shadow passed the window, too quick to identify. Then a low, guttural growl echoed from outside, followed by a faint, clinking sound, like metal on stone. "Not Liam or Sophia," Amma corrected, her eyes wide with recognition. "That's a rogue. A feral. And the sound, it's like a trap." Kent's expression hardened. "They're forcing our hand. They want to draw us out." "Then let's go," Amma said, her voice firm. "We face them together." They moved to the library door, but before Kent could unlock it, a voice spoke from the other side, muffled but clear. "Tick-tock, little vampire. The moon won't wait forever. And neither will we." It was Sophia. Her voice held a chilling amusement. Kent looked at Amma, determination in his crimson eyes. "Are you ready?" Amma took a deep breath, feeling the power surge within her. "Always." Sound of a door opening slowly, a creaking sound. This is it, listeners. The battle lines are drawn. What do you think the Obsidian Circle has planned for the lunar eclipse? And how do you think Amma and Kent will fare against them, especially if Amma truly is the Citadel Heart? Share your most intense predictions in the comments. The night of the lunar eclipse arrived, painting the new Savannah sky in an eerie, bruised purple. The air at Citadel High crackled with an otherworldly energy. The human students, oblivious to the true nature of the celestial event, were mostly gathered for a viewing party on the school's sports fields. But within the shadowed corridors, a different kind of gathering was taking place. Amma and Kent moved through the school, their senses on high alert. The Obsidian Circle's presence was undeniable now, their dry, ancient scent permeating the air. They knew the ritual was set to happen in the old, abandoned part of the school, deep within the forgotten boiler rooms beneath the oldest wing. "They're starting," Kent whispered, his hand gripping Amma's. "The chanting, it's a binding spell. It's meant to channel the eclipse's energy." They found the entrance to the boiler rooms concealed behind a false wall in the school's archives. The air grew heavy, the scent of blood stronger, mixed with something sharp and metallic, silver. "Silver," Amma murmured, confused. Why would vampires use silver? "To contain the werewolf essence," Kent replied, his voice grim. "To purify it, in their twisted view. To force it into a form they can control." They descended into the depths of Citadel High, the chanting growing louder, more frantic. The boiler room was transformed into a macabre chamber. Obsidian Circle vampires, cloaked figures with unervingly still eyes, stood in a wide circle, their faces contorted in expressions of dark reverence. In the center, Sophia stood, her pale skin illuminated by the flickering torches, her ring with the sharp-toothed symbol gleaming. And, to Amma's horror, Liam was there too, assisting Sophia, his expression conflicted, but his movements obedient. But what truly chilled Amma to her core was the sight of a massive, intricate cage of silver set in the very center of the ritual space. And inside it, a young werewolf, convulsing, fighting against the silver, clearly being tortured. It was then Amma knew with chilling certainty, they weren't just looking for the Citadel Heart, they were trying to create it, to force it into existence using other werewolves as raw material, hoping to refine the process for Amma. "Amma!" Kent hissed, pulling her further into the shadows. "They're experimenting. They're trying to perfect the ritual before they come for you." As Amma watched the tortured werewolf, a surge of pure, unadulterated fury coursed through her. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about countless others, manipulated, tormented, destroyed. "We have to stop them," Amma said, her voice low and fierce. Kent nodded. "We hit them fast. We hit them hard. We take down Sophia, break the ritual, and free that wolf." Suddenly, Sophia's voice cut through the chanting, sharp and clear. "She's here. The wolf. The heart is near." Amma and Kent burst from the shadows, their presence shattering the dark ritual. Kent was a blur of motion, lunging at the closest cloaked vampire. Amma, her wolf fully awakened, didn't bother to shift. Her human form, now infused with raw, untamed power, was enough. She moved with a ferocity that surprised even Kent, her hands striking with the force of claws, her senses guiding her to the weaknesses of the Obsidian Circle members. Sophia shrieked, her pale face contorting in rage. "Fools! You cannot stop this!" She moved to reinforce the binding spell on the silver cage, her hands glowing with dark energy. Liam, however, hesitated. He looked from Sophia to Kent, then to the suffering werewolf in the cage. His icy eyes flickered with doubt. "Liam, help me," Sophia commanded, her voice shrill. But Liam looked at Kent, a silent message passing between the two vampires. He had always been loyal to Kent, even when Kent was being an arrogant jerk. His old loyalties warred with the Obsidian Circle's demands. "Liam, don't be a fool," Kent snarled, dodging a vampire's attack. This isn't what we stand for. This is torture. This is an abomination. Liam's jaw tightened. He made his choice. Instead of aiding Sophia, he lunged at one of the Obsidian Circle members guarding the cage, diverting their attention. The distraction gave Alma the opening she needed. She moved like a phantom, bypassing the remaining guards, her focus solely on the silver cage. The moment her hands touched the bars, a searing pain shot through her, but it was nothing compared to the fury burning in her heart. With a guttural cry, Alma channeled every ounce of her raw, dual-natured power into her touch. The silver, meant to contain, twisted and melted under her hands, dissolving into shimmering mist. The werewolf inside, weakened but alive, collapsed as the cage broke open. Alma caught it, her touch flowing with restorative energy, pouring strength into the broken creature. Sophia screamed, a sound of pure, unadulterated fury. The heart! She is the heart! Destroy her! The remaining Obsidian Circle members lunged, their eyes blazing with dark magic. Kent and Liam fought valiantly, but the Circle's numbers were overwhelming. Alma, supporting the freed werewolf, felt the surge of danger, the desperate need to protect. Then, as the lunar eclipse reached its peak, casting the boiler room in an otherworldly gloom, Alma felt it. The Citadel Heart wasn't something to be created or controlled. It was something to be unleashed. It was Alma. A brilliant, pulsing light erupted from Alma, a golden aura that combined the raw power of her werewolf essence with something else, something ancient and deeply resonant, a force that vibrated with the very essence of the earth and the moon. The Obsidian Circle vampires recoiled, shrieking as the pure energy burned their corrupted forms. Sophia screamed, her power flickering, her face contorting in fear as Alma's radiance pushed against her dark magic. Alma felt an immense wave of power surge through her, a wave that flowed outward, engulfing Kent and Liam, invigorating them, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. She wasn't just fighting, she was radiating, cleansing, restoring. The heart, it's awakening, Kent whispered, his eyes wide with awe, even as he continued to fight. The Obsidian Circle members, their dark magic undone by Alma's pure energy, began to crumble, their cloaked forms dissolving into dust. Sophia, her eyes filled with frantic desperation, tried to flee, but Alma's power was too vast, too absolute. The aura tightened around Sophia, binding her, stripping her of her dark magic. As the eclipse began to wane, the blinding light from Alma faded, leaving her breathless, but whole and more powerful than ever. The boiler room was silent, save for the gasping breaths of Kent, Liam, and the freed werewolf. The Obsidian Circle was gone, dissolved into nothingness. Alma looked at Kent, her eyes shining with newfound understanding. She wasn't just a werewolf, she was the balance. She was the heart, and she was his. The Citadel Heart is finally unleashed. What do you think this new power means for Alma and Kent's future? And what about Liam's choice to help them? Do you believe the Obsidian Circle is truly gone, or will their darkness return? Share your most imaginative predictions for what comes next. The aftermath was surreal. The boiler room, once a chamber of dark rituals, felt cleansed, purified. The freed werewolf, a girl named Chloe, was weak but alive, her bond to her own wolf restored. Liam, shaken but resolute, apologized to Kent, explaining his forced involvement with the Obsidian Circle and his growing doubts about Sophia's methods. Kent, seeing Liam's genuine remorse, extended a hand of forgiveness, acknowledging that true loyalty sometimes required difficult choices. Word of the Obsidian Circle's defeat, and Alma's role in it, spread quickly through the hidden supernatural communities of New Savannah. The remnants of other vampire families, who had long suffered under the Obsidian Circle's quiet tyranny, came forward, offering alliances and support to Kent's family. Werewolf packs, wary of Alma's immense power but grateful for the destruction of a common enemy, cautiously extended invitations for dialogue. Citadel High, for the human students, simply returned to normal. They had no idea of the battle that had raged beneath their feet, the ancient power that had awakened in their midst. For Alma and Kent, however, everything had changed. They were no longer just a high school couple. They were a powerful, undeniable force. Amma learned to control the Citadel Heart, mastering its dual-natured energy, using it not for dominance, but for balance, for healing, for protection. She discovered she could soothe the wildness of lost rogues, mend fractured supernatural bonds, and even influence the emotions of those around her, guiding them towards understanding and peace. Kent, standing proudly by her side, shed the last vestiges of his arrogance, replaced by a quiet strength and deep devotion. He became her unwavering support, her anchor, helping her navigate the complexities of her power and the new responsibilities that came with it. Together, they worked to foster peace between the once feuding supernatural factions in New Savannah, creating a sanctuary within the city itself. Rosemary, finally told the truth about Amma and Kent, reacted with a mix of shock and fierce admiration. She remained Amma's loyal friend, embracing the secret world with a human's bravery and a profound sense of wonder. She even became their bridge to the human world, offering invaluable insights and helping them maintain the delicate balance between the two societies. Amma and Kent became a symbol, a testament to the power of love and understanding over ancient prejudice. Their beautiful relationship, once forged in conflict and misunderstanding, blossomed into a profound, unbreakable bond. They were a unified force, two souls destined to bring light to the shadowed corners of their world. As the school year drew to a close, Amma and Kent stood together in the quad, watching the human students excitedly plan their summer. The sun shone brightly, the air was clear, and for the first time in a long time, Amma felt truly at peace. The threats hadn't disappeared entirely. New challenges would always emerge in the supernatural world, but now they would face them together. Kent turned to her, his crimson eyes full of a love that transcended species, power, and ancient rivalries. He gently took her hand, his touch warm and comforting. "Ready for whatever comes next," he murmured. Amma smiled, leaning into him, feeling the strength of their combined power. "Always, as long as I'm with you." The journey had been perilous, filled with fear, betrayal, and the unraveling of ancient secrets. But through it all, their love had not only survived but had flourished, proving that sometimes the most unexpected connections are the ones that change the world. They were Kent and Amma, the heart of Citadel, and their story was just beginning. And so, our story of Amma and Kent concludes, but their journey in New Savannah is far from over. What lingering questions do you have about their future? What adventures do you imagine them embarking on? Share your thoughts and tell us what you'd like to see next for our beloved couple. And if you enjoyed this journey, please like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling tales from the supernatural world.